Hi everyone, I do hope you're well. We all saw the Netflix documentary that came out at the end of September, and it's brought a lot of new people into the Chris Watts case, scrutinising the details of what actually happened. This video is primarily for those who have seen Netflix and they want to know a little bit more. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the timeline of what happened on the 13th of August 2018. Based on the Discovery files, there's quite a lot of information in there as to Chris Watts' movements. There's lots of talks of cover-ups and other people being involved, and the Discovery doesn't tell us anything about those. So I am going to speculate a little bit. So for those of you who've been into the case for a long time, perhaps you'll find that of interest, finding out my theory of what actually happened on the 13th of August 2018. So let's get into it. For those of you who are not familiar with the Discovery files, this is almost 2,000 pages, specifically 1,960 pages of information that the police and others were putting together for the prosecution, building up a case against Chris Watts in case this thing went to trial. Some of the information is redacted, which creates a lot of speculation. There's things missing from these files that I think are important, but we can only go off, factually, we can only go off what's there, and the rest is purely speculation. So as I said, as I go through this, I am going to be putting together some speculation, but I'm going to make it absolutely clear where it's my theory that's separate from the fact. Lots of people have theories, lots of people disagree, and I think part of the problem is there's so much missing information, so people just naturally want to fill in those gaps, me included. Anyway, we're going to start this story off at August the 10th. This was a Friday. So if anybody wants to follow along, this is page 1915 of the Discovery. And August the 10th was the day when Shanann went off to Arizona for her Thrive trip. She went with Nicole Atkinson, her friend. So Watts actually took the day off work because he claimed to his co-workers that he was going to take Shanann to the airport. Whether that was the original plan or not, I don't know, but it was actually Nicole Atkinson who took Shanann to the airport because she was going on the Arizona trip as well. So before she left, and this is dated 6:20 hours from Shanann's phone. So where you see the 42 here, this is texts or information that was found on Shanann's phone. You'll see also a 41, that's Chris Watts' personal phone, and later on there's a 40, which is Chris Watts' work phone. This is missing from Chris Watts' phone, but found on Shanann's. Good morning, honey. Sorry to make you wake up early twice today. I didn't want the alarm going off. We're checked in and everything. It's already a madhouse here today. Enjoy the girls. Don't forget King Supers 1011. I don't know what that is. I told Bella I was leaving for work with Nikki and assured her I was always coming home. She's telling Chris about the girls don't usually eat right away lately. Give them lots of kisses. Thank you for everything last night. I miss and love you so much. I am in shock we're having a little boy. I'm so excited and happy. I really thought it was another girl. They just recently found out the sex of their 15-week-old little unborn baby, and they were going to call him Nico. Thank you for letting me hold you this morning. It felt good. Your letter is on the counter. Have a great time with kiddos. I truly miss you. Love you, baby. Send me pics. So that was missing from Chris Watts' phone. So clearly he must have deleted it. She did leave him a letter, a very poignant letter. Didn't warm Chris's heart, clearly. So Shanann sent Chris some more texts. Jeremy Lindstrom, one of the Watts friends, knew that Chris and Shanann were having a boy, and Chris made an arrangement that McKenna, who is Jeremy's daughter, was able to babysit on the Saturday night. Chris lied and said they were going to a Rockies game, something that he won from work, but actually he was going for a date with his mistress. The Watts were planning to sell their house, so they'd already talked about splitting up. Shanann was trying desperately to save her marriage. She was absolutely devastated, but at the time she didn't know about NK, the mistress. She had an idea. She postulated to her friends that he might be having an affair. They'd reassured her, and but she was right. The McCoy connection. Now, Troy McCoy is one of Chris's co-workers. There is some current speculation going on amongst YouTube creators on YouTube that perhaps Troy McCoy, alongst with perhaps NK and NK's friend Jim, leave Jim alone, she said in one of her interviews. She didn't want Jim to be interviewed. Why? We don't know. Why the police didn't follow it up? We don't know. If they did, it's not in the Discovery files. So Chris was meeting McCoy for a Fire Stick. He wanted to save money on his cable, and the Amazon's Fire Stick would allow him to watch sports. So they were meeting at a Safeway, which kind of out of the way. It was on the way to Survey, where perhaps McCoy was working, but there's speculation that McCoy wasn't working on that day. So why they met at that Safeway, who knows whether that's relevant or not. There is talk about a plan to blow up Survey 319. I've made a video about this, and it's a wild speculation, but is there some truth in it? I don't know. I flip between there is and there isn't some truth in this. There were a couple of accidents that had occurred at Anadarko Fields in the previous year, and was there a plan to blow up Survey 319 to claim some kind of, I don't know, insurance or compensation for it? Some people have speculated that this Fire Stick is code for something else, because the actual Fire Stick that was exchanged wasn't found. I don't know. As I said, I flip between, was there a plan? If there was a plan, why didn't it go ahead? And, you know, I don't see anybody talking about the reasons why it didn't happen. If it was planned, why didn't it happen? When did they pull out of that idea? I'm erring at the moment, as I record this, I'm erring at the side of, no, there wasn't a plan to blow up Survey 319. I mean, if there was, I'm easily persuaded on this. I want to know why it didn't go ahead. Whether NK and Jim and Troy were in on the murders. The NK connection, she was almost stroppy, almost obstructive many times in her interviews. Why wasn't she considered a suspect when she was behaving so strangely in those interviews? I don't know. I really don't think that she murdered anybody. She wasn't directly involved in the murders. I'm quite sure about that. I'm also sure that she was in some way involved, that she knew more than what she was letting on. And perhaps Jim knew more, and that's why she didn't want anybody to talk to him. Everything else, I don't know. I like Larry's theory that there was a cover-up at the kind of Anadarko level. You know, the prosecutors were wanting to kind of just shut this case down, and that's probably why it was just as soon as Chris confessed, that was it. They shut it down. They didn't investigate anybody else. Was that just to save money? Was that more of a suspicious reason, more of a cover-up reason? And it's highly unusual. Possibly there was. But let's get back to this. So on this day, on the 10th, Chris deleted his Facebook. So he was already distancing himself from Shanann. Shanann used to post on Chris's Facebook about Lavelle Thrive stuff. So Chris was kind of uncomfortable about the Facebook and stuff. So he's liberated himself. This is the evening now. Chris is searching for shows at the Comedy Works. He's searching for things presumably that him and NK can do, you know, once they're liberated. The Watts were due to go to Aspen on her break that following weekend. and Shanann was spending some time working on looking for hotels and things. Meanwhile, Chris was transferring videos that NK was sending him into his secret calculator app. Then we get to August the 11th. Good morning, baby. Are the girls up? And Watts replied, good morning, they're watching cartoon in bed. Minutes later, Shanann was questioning him as well about sports packages. She's trying to create conversation, isn't she? She's trying to make things normal. She's trying to get glimpses of their old relationship. Watts replied, saying he wanted to see if the Fire Stick would save them money. So Shanann knew about the Fire Stick. I'm erring on the side that the Fire Stick was actually real. It's not a euphemism for something else. I think the Fire Stick was a genuine plan to save money. They were living way beyond their means, and you know, they'd filed bankruptcy in 2015. They couldn't file bankruptcy again so soon, and they were struggling. Now, whether they were planning to sell the house to downsize, and that's maybe what Shanann was hoping, that they could downsize and get some of their money worries out of the way, whereas Watts was planning his out of this relationship in a much more sinister manner. We also get a new phone introduced into this timeline. This is number 43. This is NK's phone. So at 9:30 hours, this is on the morning of the 11th, in anticipation for her evening with Watts, Kessinger spent 45 minutes searching Google on topics like how to prepare for anal sex guide, to searches at Pornhub, threesomes and double penetration. So who were the threesomes planned with? It's been speculated that it's Jim. It could be other people. I think there was a kind of sexually liberated, much more liberated than maybe Watts was used to. And he was excited by all of this, and he was just addicted to this new, exciting relationship. Shanann, perhaps, and all the family stuff was boring him. Part of the problem in Chris's mind was, how does he kind of put aside this lust and carry on just living a normal family life? And it's proved too much for him. Maybe he was so confused, everything just came to a head. That excuses him somewhat, because that says, well, he was addicted and he wasn't responsible for his actions. Well, that's absolute nonsense if anybody thinks that, because he was absolutely responsible. It doesn't matter what psychological disturbance he was suffering from, whether he was dissociated, whether he was just not coping with this new life and this clash of worlds. That doesn't matter. He had a choice. He had a choice. So Chris was leaving for the game, actually, to go to the Lazy Dog and to go and have sex with NK. He said he was leaving at 4:30 to 5. And then Shanann contacted McKenna. She knew that McKenna was babysitting. How are the girls? And McKenna replied, they're doing great. Cece ate 3 slices of pizza that Watts had bought them from Papa John's. My favourite pizzas are Papa John's. McKenna had a curfew. She was meant to be kind of finished by 10. Watts said he'd be home in 20 minutes. He was keeping track of time, so we had to be home quite early. NK had got home by 10:05. And she was searching topics like Chris Watts, Shanann Watts, Ronnie Watts, and 2825 Saratoga Trail. At her interviews with the police, NK said she didn't know where Chris lived. She'd been there, but she didn't know the address. She could possibly find it again if she really tried. Actually, she knew the address. She knew. Why was she searching Ronnie Watts? Why was she searching Chris's dad? It's bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Meanwhile, Shanann in Arizona searched Google for the Lazy Dog menu. Chris paid for the Lazy Dog meal on his card. Police say how she came to learn so quickly of Watts' dinner expense is not reflected on the phone, but maybe there was an alert from their bank or credit company. So Shanann knew that he'd been having a meal, which is not too unusual. I guess, but it put speculation into her mind that maybe he wasn't at the Rockies game. And then he obviously had an explanation because she said, save the receipt and we can write it off. So this is now the Sunday, August the 12th. Some conversation between various friends. Shanann's calendar had an entry titled Talk. Maybe talk to Chris about their marriage. But here Shanann's talking to friends about their relationship, which is quite poignant now. Shanann asked Chris to send her some pictures of the girls, and he did. This is roughly 18 hours before the murders. Watts took one of the last known images of Celeste in life and one of Bella. And this is perhaps the last image of Shanann taken in life. On the Sunday afternoon, the Lindstroms had a birthday party for their younger child, and Chris went to the party with them and they had a great time. Actually, this party is mentioned in one of Chris's letters to Sherilyn Cadle, and he said how come he was able to, take them to a party, they're laughing and singing and having a great time, and then he took them home, showered and put them to bed, and he said he knew this would be the last time he'd be tucking his girls in. Shanann was kind of being nice to him about great job on Bella's hair. He wasn't a great hairdresser. So we're into the evening now, and Shanann asks, what kind of vegetables do you want for dinner tomorrow? So she was clearly wanting just to bring things back to normal. She was coming home. She'd been in North Carolina for 6 weeks over the summer. She'd had a couple of days at home and then was straight off to Arizona. She wanted to bring the marriage back to normal, talk things through, perhaps sort out some of their money worries. She was hoping that they could get their marriage back on track. Chris wanted green beans. So she was definitely planning to be around. So any stupid conspiracy theories about Shanann committing suicide and Nicole Atkinson, her friend, hiding this is absolute complete nonsense. Absolute nonsense. So shortly after 9 p.m, she said here she wants to fix things in this text. I try to fix things and make them better, and this makes me crazy. I know you need time. I respect your space. And then Watts stopped replying. He finally, a couple of hours later, replied, holy crap, sorry, passed out on the couch. Actually, he wasn't. He was talking to his mistress. And now we get to August the 13th. Shanann's plane was delayed. She was meant to get home about 11, but actually she only got home at 10 to 2 on the morning of August the 13th. 10 to 1, Shanann's phone connected to Wi-Fi provided by Southwest Airlines, and at 1:25 Shanann told Cassie, a friend, that they'd landed. And then the Vivint alert and the video show that she opened the door at 1:48. And then there was no movement from 1:48 to 4:23. There was no movement detected on the main floor of the home, so everybody was upstairs. At 4:23, someone came down. Presumably that would have been Chris, because Shanann was still in bed. And then we don't know what happened in those 4 hours. The speculation's rife. Chris's story to officers at the time. He was arrested. He said Shanann had killed the girls and he'd killed Shanann because he found her killing Celeste. He later, in February 2019, to officers Lee Coder and Detective Baumhover, when they went over to Dodge Correctional in Wisconsin, where he was incarcerated, he said he killed the girls, but he killed them at the oil site. Later that year, to Sherilyn Cadle, he said he killed them twice. He tried to suffocate them at home, but they woke up, and then he made that drive. He set off at 5:48 with the bodies of his family piled in the back seat. At the time the discovery was compiled, they thought everybody was dead, but apparently not. The girls were still alive. There's speculation on that. I believe that the girls were still alive. I believe in the shadows. I've made videos showing you very clearly that there are shadows there that are not Chris. So someone is out there. Possibly two people are out there. Are they Bella and Celeste? I think so. I definitely think so. He made that drive about 45 minutes or thereabouts with Bella and Celeste, and he said, why could he not save his girls? Only he knows that. What starts to ring round his colleagues, his co-workers, to find out their whereabouts. So he's either just arrived at Survey 319 or he's nearly at Survey. You can kind of look at the time, and he's probably there at the ranch, maybe not at 319, but he's in the vicinity at this point. And he made 3 unanswered calls to Cody Roberts, who is one of his co-workers. And then he said, where are you at? Now, he wants to make sure that there's nobody going to find him, nobody's going to catch him in the act. And Roberts replied, just got fuel in Kersey. Kersey's further north than Survey 319. Chris obviously would know the area, and according to Google Maps, this is about 30 minutes or so away from Roggan, which is where Survey is located. Chris knew that if Roberts was going to go to 319, because there's various well sites on Survey Ranch, he'd have only half an hour. So maybe there was some panic at this point if he's thinking, oh my God, Cody's going to turn up. So immediately after Roberts replied, just got fuel in Kersey, Chris rang him and it didn't pick up. So then he says, 6:33, okay, I'm at Survey, where are you going? And then Roberts answered, DPC State. Don't know what that is. I don't know whether that's the office. He replied with a thumbs up. So we knew Cody was out of the way. And then Roberts said, I need to call Chad to see if he plans still stroking the 1029 out there to see if it'll pump up. So I'm going to meet him. So now Watts knows that Roberts is going to be busy elsewhere. So Roberts is out of the way, definitely. And then Roberts said, I think Chad might be heading out there today. So fearing at 20 to 7, fearing that another employee such as Chad might turn up whilst he was doing the deeds, Watts calls Chad and said, you heading out to Survey? I'm here. Cody said something about pumping up the 1029, so maybe he's trying to get Chad McNeil to go to 1029. That was at 20 to 7. And then at 6:43, McNeil replied, well, since you're out there, you want to fire it up. And Watts replied, okay, I will. And then McNeil said, I'll head there in a bit. So that's a bit unclear. Maybe Watts started to panic a little bit. We don't know. That's my speculation. Roberts told Watts, I'm headed out that way to start up the 1029, and Chad will be meeting out there. So both now Chad and Cody are out of the way at 1029. So they're not coming to 319. So Chris has now got, 19 minutes. He's been on the phone almost constantly up to that point. So then we kind of think, well, 7 a.m, he knew he was on his own and he could now perhaps take Shanann's body out of the back seat and suffocate Bella and Celeste and go and hide them in the oil tanks. So we had 19 minutes here, and then he took a photograph of his laptop screen. No idea why that would be. And then he had another kind of 20 minutes, 22 minutes. So overall, he's got about 40 minutes here, right, where perhaps he had time certainly to suffocate the girls and go and take them to the oil tanks and maybe start digging Shanann's grave. So 40 minutes, it's not long. Is there enough time? So at 7:40, maybe he's having a break. Maybe the girls have gone at this time and he's thinking he's got Shanann's body. So he's got the girls out of the way, but he's still got Shanann's body. This is just speculation on my part. He did say that he suffocated the girls before he buried Shanann. My thinking is, to put myself into the mind of a murderer, you want to get rid of the living people first. You know, if someone had turned up now at this point, the body's in the back of his truck, probably would have gone unseen. So he's probably feeling a little bit better at this point. So at 7:40, he had a break and he staged a call to Shanann's phone from his work phone saying, "Where are you at?" And then 2.5 minutes to Troy McCoy. Roberts started texting again. This was a picture that Watts sent to Cody Roberts. Some pipes. And then Watts called Luke Eppel, who is Chris's co-worker but also his supervisor, maybe telling him about the leak. There was a leak, and which feeds into the speculation that they knew there was a leak and they knew they were going to blow up the site. I don't believe it. I don't believe it at this moment in time. I don't believe the blowing up the site thing. I just want to know why they didn't, if that was at any time a plan. So some more conversations. And then he's got another half an hour to 8:25. Now, Chris claimed in one of his police interviews, which was written up as a summary in the Discovery, that his co-workers actually got at the site about 7:30, 7:15 to 7:30, which was a lie. They did not. He was on his own. And you can see from these text conversations that all these co-workers who could possibly turn up, Chris had made sure that they were elsewhere. So he was lying absolutely on that point. We could speculate here that he's now got rid of Shanann's body. There's ideas about the hole was already dug. Possibly Chris was able to go up there in the Lexus, which, you know, they wouldn't attract any GPS from it. I suppose he would have his phone. If he turned his phone off, there'd be no track of him going at the weekend to dig a hole. I don't know. I think he probably just had enough time to build a shallow grave. Depends how hard the ground was, but he had a shovel with him. He's a fit guy. It's only a shallow hole. I think he probably could have done it in the time. My view anyway. And then at 8:30, he rings the school to say his daughters would not be attending anymore. We know that Troy McCoy had turned up from GPS on Troy McCoy's truck, that he turned up here at 8:51. And apparently other co-workers had also arrived. It's unclear exactly what time they turned up, but possibly around 8:30, maybe just before or just after he made this call, and then the day unfolded. Chris, looking up Metallica lyrics. Lunacy has found me, cannot stop the battery, pounding out aggression, turns into obsession, cannot kill the battery, cannot kill the family. Well, he did kill his family. He did kill his family. And those are some things that maybe Netflix didn't tell you, but this is detailed information about where Watts was and what happened in those early hours. But crucial details we don't know, and we continue to speculate upon those. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. I do hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next video.